What is up, fellow FPL managers, guys? Today we are going to be looking at the best premiums for you to own in your FPL team, ranking all 5 premiums from worst to best. Now, if you're wondering what do I mean by premium, well, I make it out to be any player worth 10 mil or more, a player in the double digits, basically. That's what I've always thought it was. I've never heard anyone else tell me any different. So yeah, we've got 5 players to choose from, 10 mil or above. We've got Son and Saka, both costing 10 mil. Palmer on 10.5. These guys are the lower price premiums. Then you got your big dogs. You got Mo Salah at 12.5 and the biggest dog of all time, Haaland at 15 mil. We're going to be ranking them from 5th place to 1st place. Now, it is worth noting all of these players are good picks. It's just for game week 1 with, form from the end of last season, form in pre-season, and the fixtures teams are leading with. Some are better than others, and I'm going to tell you which ones are the best and which ones are the worst, in my humble opinion. Guys, in 5th place is Heung-min Son, who is also the least owned out of all 5 of these FPL premiums. And there's a good reason why. I mean, sure, he has 2 good opening fixtures, but straight after that, he does face Arsenal and Newcastle. Not to mention, he is the most inconsistent of the bunch. Last season, he saw spells of good form, but he also had spells of very bad form, a lot of droughts, and the season before that was no better. With all that being said, in the past 4 FPL seasons, he has scored over 200 points 3 times. So he's definitely not a bad asset, and he's proven why he's worth 10 mil. Now, guys, there are 2 main reasons why I think Son's not going to be the best FPL asset to open up your Game Week 1 teams. And the first one is the fixtures do get quite tough in Game Week 3 and 4. And the other one is the fact we don't even know which position he's going to play. I mean, is he going to play left wing? Is he going to play striker? Those are the 2 negatives about Son. The positives are that he's got very reliable minutes. We don't know where he is going to play, but we do know that he is going to play, providing there are no injuries. So I do understand where people are coming from when they do have Heung-min Son in their team. And though I did come across a Heung-min Son draft, I wouldn't necessarily think it's a bad player. I would just recommend they go for someone else for slightly cheaper. But those 2 opening fixtures could be good games to target and then switch off to someone else when they play Newcastle and Arsenal in game week 3 and 4. Guys, I'm curious to know what all of you think about Son. Now, don't get me wrong, he is overlooked a bit because his ownership is so low. But with other players to go for, like Saka and Palmer, and just for a little less, people like Bruno, who can offer just as much almost, but at a cheaper price, you can see why other people aren't going for him. So yeah, Son gets my 5th place spot, although in the point predictions, he is 4th out of these premiums. There is someone below him, but we'll get to that in a bit. Anyway, going on to the 4th place premium now. I am going to put Bukayo Saka there. Now, Saka is not higher up on the list purely because of his fixtures. I do think a lot of him. I think he's a really good asset. He's really consistent. He's only improving every year. I mean, he does have point droughts now and then, but they never last too long. And he usually makes up for it with a few double-digit hauls in the space of a few game weeks, So he is a good asset, someone you'd be looking to own in your team. Just maybe not in game week 1. I think the fixture run is too hard. In game week 1 and game week 3, you see him face Wolves at home and Brighton at home. 2 really easy fixtures, actually. 2 I wouldn't mind owning him for. But if you're looking at game week 2, 4, and 5, they play Aston Villa, they play Spurs, and they play Man City, all away games. So that's, big no-nos for me. They're not good fixtures at all. Now, I would personally not put Saka in my game week 1 team, full stop. When Arsenal go on a good fixture run quite a bit later on in the season, I'd definitely consider putting him in my team, maybe on a wild card. But right now, once again, there's other players that are slightly cheaper outfield that can offer a lot more, like Isak, like Watkins, like Bruno I mentioned earlier. It's a very similar situation with Son. These guys are 2 high-priced premium players, but they don't offer as much value because of their tough fixtures and, in Son's case, a bit of inconsistency. In terms of point predictions, Saka does actually come 3rd above Son in this one. And he also comes above Palmer, who is actually in 5th place on the point predictions. But either way, these 3 are all very close on the point predictions. Their numbers hardly differentiate. It's decimal points, pretty much. On to my number 3 spot now. We are going to talk about Cole Palmer, who is the most owned premium out of all 5 of these players. Yet simultaneously, like I said, at the bottom of the point predictions. Now, Palmer is definitely a good player to own. if I see him in someone's team, I'm not going to recommend them to take him out like I would with Saka and Son. The problem with Palmer is his point predictions are quite low. And that is because, well, first of all, his breakout season he had last season, he had a lot of penalties. It's safe to say this season he's not even going to get half as many penalties as he did last season. So he's going to have to rely a bit on his goals from open play, which he did very well with still. He got a lot of goals and assists from open play, but the penalties did help him a lot. It's the sole reason he got above 200 points, the sole reason he got close to it. Not to mention, he's not even proven through multiple FPL seasons. He's only proven through one Premier League season, and that was his breakout season last year. And before we move on from Palmer, guys, I do want to talk to you about his non-penalty stats. So Palmer scored 22 goals last season, and 9 of them were penalties. So he did only score 13 goals from open play, and that came from 10 expected goals. That's non-penalty expected goals I'm talking about, which I wouldn't say underwhelming is the right word, but it's nowhere near special compared to any other player in the Premier League. That is, obviously, I'm not going to add it up, but you can tell that's quite a lot of points from penalties. And as you can tell, it did annoy me last season because I didn't own him for very long in my FPL team. But anyway, that's not why we're here. Let's move on. So yeah, overall, Palmer, good choice. Not the most safe decision, unless you're talking about effective ownership because he is quite high owned. I just don't think he's going to be that reliable. I don't think he's as proven as all these other premiums. So yeah, last of point predictions, only just behind Son. And yeah, let's get into my top two. You guys already know who they are, but which one am I going to put in first and which one am I going to put in second place? Well, I'm going to put Haaland in second place, guys. Now, if we're talking like about the FPL assets without including their price, Haaland definitely gets first place, but the fact he's costing 15 mil is put him down to second. Now, some of you might even want to see him even lower on this list, maybe behind Cole Palmer, because a lot of you own Palmer and don't own Haaland. But guys, I'm here to tell you Haaland is a very good asset for one main reason, and that is captaincy. A lot of people are forgetting about captaincy when choosing their premiums. So the past three I've just talked about, Palmer, Saka, and Son, are all three very good assets. But if we're talking about single game weeks, I'd imagine that Son, Palmer, and Saka will only score double digits maybe 5 or 6 times throughout the season. And then you've got double game weeks too, where obviously they'll get double digits. With Haaland, if we're talking about single game weeks, I reckon there's going to be at least around 9 or 10 single game weeks where he gets 13 points plus with a brace. He got 2 golden boots in 2 Premier League seasons, and in one of those seasons, he was even injured for quite a bit of it. I know the 15 million price point is very high and it's not very tempting, but if you can use your captaincy right with Haaland and make your, 13 pointer turn to a 26 pointer, everybody else's 10 mil premiums, their points won't mean as much because sure, they'll consistently be getting around 7, 8, 9. But with Haaland, he can pull a hat-trick out against any team. And if you double that with captaincy, everyone else's premiums, Son, Saka, Palmer, Salah, their points won't mean as much for that game week. And Haaland will be the only player you need because he is still very low owned, only 30-something percent. That is going to be massive upside. If your 30% differential is your captain, you know what's going to happen. You're going to skyrocket through the ranks. So don't forget that. If you use captaincy correctly, Haaland will be the best player in your team and well worth a 15 mil. You just have to be smart with it. Now, Haaland did score 7 penalties, which is only 2 less than Palmer. It's not a big difference, but Haaland did have many, many more non-penalty expected goals, and he will have many, many more this season too. Now, guys, that only leaves Mohamed Salah for the number 1 spot, and there is 2 main reasons I'm putting him in first place. First off, he has had 7 FPL seasons of 200 plus points in a row, which is absolutely insane. I don't think anyone else has ever done that. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think I'm right. Reason number 2 is that Liverpool have the best fixture run out of every team in the Premier League by quite a bit, and definitely a lot more than any team in the Big Six. Salah has always got high expected data, big chances created, expected goals, expected assists, expected points, the whole lot. And he's always going to be starting games when he's not injured. I very much doubt he's going to be rotated even under the new manager. The only real drawbacks I can think of is, maybe he's getting a bit older. but I don't think that's going to affect him much because towards the end of the last season, he was still really good. Of course, a new manager's coming in, and that is going to affect the formation slightly. But when you've got a world-class player like Salah, it can only bring him down so much. I still think he's going to keep up with the 200-plus point seasons. And the first 6 or 7 game weeks is the best fixture on Liverpool are probably ever going to get throughout FPL this season. So you definitely want to capitalize on it. I don't think you can substitute Salah for a Trent or a Szoboszlai or a Diaz, Jota, etc. You know, Salah is Salah. You cannot cover him. You can only own him. And the fact he has less than 40% ownership just, fucking baffles me. How is he less than 40% ownership? Guys, I'm telling you right now, I'd recommend every single one of you watching this video to get Salah in your team. I know you want to fit in Palmer. I know you want to fit in Saka. You want to fit in Son. But if you do own Salah for the first couple game weeks and he's not everything we think he's supposed to be, you can easily sell Salah into one of those 3 premiums. It's not like you're leaving yourself with no escape route. You can pretty much switch to any player in the game except Haaland because Salah is the second most expensive. So guys, please consider Salah. I know there's some teams out there where maybe you want to get Haaland and Palmer. I understand. Maybe pair Haaland with one of the other 10 mil premiums. But guys, I would really insist you do try find a way to get him in your team. And I'm Liverpool's biggest hater, okay? I'm a Manchester United fan. I do not want to see Liverpool do well. I do not want to see Salah do well. But I'm just having to come to terms with the fact he is going to do well. So yeah, I can't say it enough times. Try and make a Salah draft and just see what you come up with because he's going to be a very good captaincy option once again for you to pair with one of your other premiums. And talking about the point predictions again, Salah tops it in first place and Haaland is just slightly behind in second. These two are well above the other 3. And it shows why. They do cost 2 mil more or 5 mil more. But yeah, guys, that's enough of my ramblings, enough of my rankings. Let me know what you'd agree with and let me know what you disagree with. The final overall rankings are 5th place Son, 4th place Saka, 3rd place Palmer, 2nd Haaland, and 1st is to Salah. Let me know how you would arrange these guys from worst to best. Would you put Son a little higher? I bet many of you would put Haaland a little lower. But yeah, guys, once again, this is just my humble opinion. It's all up for debate. Anyway, that is going to be the end of the video now. If you did enjoy, make sure you're subscribing. We're trying to hit 1,000 subs before the end of the season. Make sure you're following all the socials. And yeah, I will see you in the next video.